Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics, and welcome to episode 48 of Taylor's Detroit Sports. Going to talk a little Tigers and a little Lions. It's going to be short. Tigers commit 4 errors, all of them proving costly, and they lose 6-2 without Miguel Cabrera, who is nursing his ankle injury. And which is good, because he should sit out at least a few days. And I still can't believe the White Sox are still pursuing Victor Martinez in the offseason. But what's most important is the Royals and Indians game was about to end with the Indians up 3-1. After 9.5 innings, going into the bottom of the 10th. And it started raining, and I checked the Doppler radar on weather.com from the Weather Channel, and it did not look good. What's worse about it is that there's a new rule saying that the home team has to bat first before the game can be called. So that leaves the Indians and Royals in a grim situation. So that's why Major League Baseball headquarters in New York decided to suspend the game until September 21st. Which means the Royals, whether they would have lost or not, still lead the Tigers by a half game in the American League Central Division standings. But the rain doesn't have much to do with it. The Tigers pulled the self-destruction trigger on themselves and trail a half game. That's their own fault. That's the Tigers' fault, and not the rain's fault. Got a message from City FM 99.9 FM. How's it going, City 99.9 FM? By the way, Miguel Cabrera is day-to-day with his ankle injury, and the Tigers should have put him on the disabled list like at the beginning of the season, or at least a couple or 2 or 3 months ago. Because he's also coming off the same off-season injury, off-season surgery that Justin Verlander's coming off this year, and that is a core muscle surgery repair. It takes so much time for that to heal completely. And that does not make any difference and has no bearing on the 4 errors that the Tigers have committed. They have to play better. They have to field better. They have to hit better. All those kinds of things. The White Sox jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the first inning, and they never looked back. They took advantage of the 4 errors that the Tigers committed. The first one being on Eugenio Suarez at short, bobbling it, and it appeared to have made the forced play at second to end the first, but Robin Ventura correctly challenged it because it looked to me on the replay. It looked to the viewers on the replay that the runner was safe, and so he was. And the White Sox continued to roll from there. And that easily handed Rick Porcello another one in the loss column. Whereas Jose Quintana got plenty of help from the Tigers' defense and not the White Sox bats. Otherwise, it would have been a pitcher's duel tied at 2 going into extra innings. Quintana has pitched well against the Tigers, I admit that, but not everybody's good against the Tigers. I'm not being a wimpy homer like Dan Dickerson and Jim Price are. Those are the radio commentators of the Detroit Tigers. And they're getting old, and they need to retire early. I hate the way Dan and Jim call their games. It's just flat out horrible. I had no choice but to listen to it, but then I felt like I had to switch to a music station. I listened to the first portion of the game at work, and I thought, man, I can't take this crap anymore. Speaking of the Tigers and Indians, the Tigers play in Cleveland tomorrow on Labor Day at 4:05. That is later today, actually. On a Monday, September 1st, 2014. That starts a 4-game series with the other 3 games starting at 7:05 at Progressive Field. And Corey Kluber is projected to start in one of the 4 games. But speaking of September 1st, this is the day when the Major League Baseball teams get shift their 25-man roster to their 40-man roster, which means all minor leaguers are being called up in general. The Tigers are going to call up Steven Moya and Kyle Lobstein. And then they're going to call up Robbie Ray, James McCann, and Buck Farmer. On September 1st, Corey Kluber will take on David Price later today at 4:05 p.m. By the way, you can listen to this episode also on iHeartRadio. Find me on Facebook and add me, Taylor Phillips. Like my Facebook page, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports page, and join my group, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports Group. And also follow me on Twitter at DT2 Phillips with 2 L's. That's DT2 Phillips. Monday's game will additionally be televised on ESPN. And of course, Fox Sports Detroit, and aired on the radio on Detroit's 97.1 The Ticket, WXYT FM, and HD1, and all the local affiliates on the Tigers radio network. So first it'll be Price and Kluber, and then it'll be Kyle Lobstein versus Kyle Carrasco. Carlos Carrasco, rather. Then Justin Verlander versus Danny Salazar, who has been pitching red hot lately. And finally, Max Scherzer caps off that series against Trevor Bauer. All those 4 pitching matchups are very interesting. David Price is coming off an 8-run shelling to the Yankees, who won 8-4. Took a humiliating loss last Wednesday. In a series that the Tigers took 2 out of 3 from last week, Tuesday through Thursday. Also, just to let you guys know ahead of time, the Tigers, after the Indians series upcoming, they have a 3-game home series for World Series matchup revenge forthcoming against the San Francisco Giants, who swept the Tigers in the 2012 World Series. and the San Francisco Giants right now are still in second place, 2.5 games back of the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League West Division. And also the Giants have the lead for the first National League wild card spot, a game ahead of both the Milwaukee Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals, who are tied for the lead for the second NL wild card spot. The Giants are 74-62. Whereas the Tigers are 74-62 as well. That along with the Indians will be both those matchups will be very, very interesting. Still no injury update on Anibal Sanchez. Yet. Not quite officially out for the season just yet. So, let's go ahead and move on to a little Lions note. As we may recall, the Lions have just finalized their 53-man roster with Kellen Moore being added as a third backup quarterback, and they need it. They need 3 quarterbacks, and every NFL team needs 3. Every NFL team needs 3 quarterbacks. Which leads us to Kris Durham, already cut, former Detroit Lion wide receiver, just being claimed by waivers by the Tennessee Titans this past Sunday. That took place a day after he was released by the Lions. So he will be reunited with former Lions wide receivers coach Sean Jefferson, who currently holds that position with the Titans. Durham was the only Lions cut this summer, this off-season summer. To be claimed off waivers, were the others that were cut cleared waivers, including the 10 players who ended up being signed to the Lions practice squad. PrideOfDetroit.com's Sean Ewell writes that it's entirely possible that the Lions made a claim and simply didn't have enough priority to get the player they wanted. But either way, they didn't add anybody new to their 53-man roster. They were not awarded anybody on Sunday in terms of waiver claims. They could still make changes to their roster in the next couple days, especially if Kyle Van Noy goes on short-term injured reserve, but there's nothing to report on that front for now. And that's all he wrote in this article, clearly. No other additional information. So I'm going to go hit the hay. So that's going to wrap it up for Taylor's Detroit Sports episode 48 on Spreaker, also on iHeartRadio. Tune in for Taylor's Detroit Sports episode 49 on Spreaker and iHeartRadio after the first game of the Tigers-Indians series at Progressive Field on Labor Day, which starts at 4:05 p.m., televised on Fox Sports Detroit and ESPN, and aired on the radio on 97.1 The Ticket, WXYT FM, and HD1 in Detroit, and along all the local affiliates on the Detroit Tigers radio network, with the homers, Dan Dickerson and Jim Price, calling the games on the radio, and Mario Impemba and Rod Allen calling the game on Fox Sports Detroit. Till then, this is Taylor Phillips saying TTFN, ta-ta for now.